Hello. Good day. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Welcome to today's webinar. I see more people are still joining. So today we'll be looking at our on our commercial range product, or maybe we can just wait a few minutes, maybe 2 or 3 minutes for more people to join. So just a few minutes. Good day. I'm sure they'll join as we go. Welcome to our today's webinar. Hope everyone is doing well wherever you are. So today we'll be focusing on our HUAWEI product range, mainly the commercial and industrial sector. Just a second, just wanna put on, yes. The commercial and industrial sector. So this range mainly focuses on rooftop and ground mount solutions, mainly for malls, schools, industrial areas. So today we'll be mainly focusing on the product overview, which is basically the products in the range, as well as installation. And then tomorrow we'll have another webinar same time where we'll be focusing on the technical side of it, which is the commissioning and troubleshooting. Yeah, commissioning in most instances it's an issue. So tomorrow we'll be mainly focusing on that. So today we'll look at the product overview and installation. So I'll quickly can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, you can.
Okay. So Kathea Energy, it's an energy company which distributes solar products to installers. So I'm sure all of us here already know Kathea Energy. So for more information about Kathea, you can go to our website, which is www.katheaenergy.co.za. Currently, we are also working on a portal which will be launched soon, where you'll be able to do your quotes, just like our other competitors, CGN and all that. So for more information, you can just go to our website, or you can just call our offices. The contact details are also available on the website. So today will be, as I've said, we'll be focusing on the HUAWEI products, the commercial and industrial sector. So the HUAWEI range for the commercial, the inverters, they range from 10 kilowatt up to 100 kilowatt, mainly split between four divisions. The first range being the between 10 to 20. There are 4 inverters there, which is the 12, 15, 17, and 20 KTL. That is from on the left on my screen. That's the aesthetics of it. And then the next range is the 20 to 40 kilowatt, 29 to 40. So 2021 quarter 2 will be having the 40 kilowatt ready for the market as well. So at the moment we have the 29, 33, and 36 KTL, and then the next range, which is the 50 and 60 KTL, and then the biggest inverter in the commercial and industrial range is the 100 KTL. So HUAWEI inverters, they mainly focus on multi-string, basically to be able to wire different orientations. And so HUAWEI inverters, for every MPPT, there are 2 strings which you can wire on that. We'll look at the schematic diagram of the inverters during our webinar. So for the 12 to 20 KTL range, so KTL is simply abbreviation for kilo, which is 1,000, and then the TL simply means transformerless inverter. So all the HUAWEI inverters, they are transformerless, so that's denoted by the TL. And a 20 KTL inverter, it's equivalent to a 20 kilowatt inverter, which is the rated size. However, HUAWEI inverters, they can produce up to 10% more of their rating. So if you have a 100 KTL inverter, it can produce up to 110 kilowatt, and a 20 up to 22, and so on. So for the 12 to 20 range, our inverters have 2 MPPTs, built-in MPPTs with two strings per MPPT. So it means you can wire 4 strings on these inverters. The good part about the 12 to 20 KTL range, they also support optimizers. We'll also touch on that later on. You can actually have long strings or on the system by utilizing optimizer technology. And then the next range, which is the 29 to 40, it has 4 MPPTs. That is four strings. And then the 50-60, it's 6 MPPTs with 12 strings. And then the 100 is 10 MPPTs, and you can wire up to 20 strings on it. So for the commercial and industrial sector, the MPPT open circuit voltage, it's 1,000 volts. So our panels in a string, they must not exceed 1,000 volts, and the MPPT current, it's 12 amps. So it means all panels in a string, they have to be wired in series. So you can maintain 12 amps, and so if you have a panel which is a VOC, like now there are high power panels around 455, which is a VOC of around 47.5. If we round off 50, so your string length will be around 21 modules if you are using the 400 plus modules. So for local commissioning, all inverters you can use for the 29.9 kilowatt upwards, you can use a USB VLAN adapter, which is supplied with the inverter. That is for your local commissioning. While the 12 to 20 has already a built-in VLAN connection. The moment you power it on, you can connect using VLAN for your local commissioning. That is to set your grid code, your communication parameters, and all that. Much of it we'll look into in detail tomorrow on our commissioning and troubleshooting webinar. And then for communication, and remote monitoring, we have a smart locker smart locker, which is our main communication module. So this one you can connect to any inverter range, and then we have a smart dongle 4G. We'll also look into it in detail shortly. A smart dongle 4G, it performs the same function with smart locker, but it has more limited functions. It's also responsible for connecting the system to the monitoring portal. But this range is only available for the 12 to 20, 50, 60, and 100. The 29 to 36 KTL currently is not supported. But however, on our M1 version, which is scheduled to be coming in second quarter of this year, it will support the smart dongle. And then the 12 to 20, you can use also the smart dongle, VLAN FE, fast Ethernet. So you can connect. You'll be able to connect your Ethernet cable to the inverter through this dongle. HUAWEI inverters, due to a rise in concern in arc faults, I'm sure if you are following PV in the commercial, industrial, and utility, it's been a major concern. Having arc faults, these are high voltage systems, so they can easily cause fire. One major incident that happened was a Walmart warehouses. I think about 3 of them were blazed with fire due to arc fault. So our inverters have built-in arc fault detection, so they can actually detect an arc fault on PV strings that is positive to ground, negative to ground, or positive to negative, and shut down the inverter wherever necessary. The other thing, the HUAWEI inverters, they come with built-in PID recovery for the mid ranges, which is the 29 to 36, 50, and 60. The version will be coming in mid 21, which is quarter to 2021. Would have that function built in as well. The PID recovery basically is there to recover the module cells. We know PID, which is the potential induced degradation. The nature of panels, the principle of operation of panel is chemical and physics in nature. So over time, due to contamination, temperature, humidity, the semiconductor effect on the panels, that is the one which makes a panel produce power. It slowly depletes. This process is called PID, which is potential induced degradation, and it has been out. Studies however show that this effect is exponential over time, and it can actually reduce the panel's performance up to 30%. So, and the major factors, driving factors, is the temperature, humidity, and contamination. So HUAWEI inverters, they have a built-in function to keep that process in the commercial and industrial. That is the built-in PID recovery. So the PID that occurs during the day, at night the system would actually try and recover those cells such that the panels can the panels will keep working at their optimal rating. So this panel, you however have to activate it on the application during commissioning. We'll also touch base on that tomorrow on our commissioning webinar. And then we have our inverters have an interface for ripple control interface, which uses 4 digital inputs. So in such instances where you would need to control the active power of the inverter through an external device. Sometimes it will be the municipality, like in the Cape Town region, they're introducing the SCADA system. Our inverters have a built-in ripple control interface for that. For the upper ranges, the smart locker is the one which is used for this ripple control interface. So for our communication devices, we have the VLAN FE fast Ethernet. This is a smart dongle with USB connection. So after setting up your inverter, this device is the one which will be responsible to connect to the internet, and it can take a maximum of 10 devices, which is one master and 10 slaves. So you 9 slaves, sorry. So you can only connect 10 inverters using this device. Same with the smart dongle 4G. So the FE uses Ethernet to connect to your household internet, such that you can use the gateway to upload to the server. While if the smart dongle 4G, you would need to insert a 4G card on it. And then we have the smart locker 3000. This is the main module for the commercial range. It can connect up to 80 devices, so you can have up to 80 inverters in a chain. So if you are using 100 KTL, it means the smart locker can actually control a plant of up to 8 megawatt. The communication mode, it has a RS485 communication. And then it also uses AC M-Pass for isolation transformer. This function is mainly used on big systems overlapping to the utility range. And then for the communication to the cloud, it uses Ethernet. You would need to run an Ethernet cable to the locker. Alternatively, it has a built-in 4G module. You can insert a 4G card, and then it will just use it to communicate to the server for remote monitoring. And then for local commissioning, using the smart locker, you would need to connect to the commissioning software, which is the web UI page, through an Ethernet cable connected to your laptop, connected between your laptop and the smart locker, or you can use a built-in VLAN that is through the Fusion Solar app. So the inverter has also a power reduction interface for inverter power control. That is the ripple control interface. And then it has digital inputs and analog and digital inputs for weather station integration. That is the EMI. These digital inputs, they can also be configured to control external devices, or to actually switch off inverters through external devices, like emergency stops and all that. And then for the 29 up to 100 KTL inverters, there is a VLAN adapter, 2000C, which is supplied with the inverter. This adapter is responsible for creating a VLAN network, such that you'll be able to connect to the inverter for your local commissioning. So the HUAWEI optimizer compatible with the lower range for the CNI, which is the 12 to 20 kilowatt, is the Sun 450 watt peak. It's unfortunate that the module manufacturers, they are stepping on the gas. Currently, they are now in the 500 plus range of modules. So it means this optimizer, if you are using 500 watt modules, then it won't be compatible. So your module size limit will be 450 watt, and it's compatible with the 12 to 20 range in the C&I range. So basically, like the optimizer technology is there to enable you to have maximum PowerPoint tracking for your modules. That is at module level. It gives you module level monitoring. It enables you to have long string design. It actually helps you for protection in case of your inverter faults or your inverter is off. It will actually, when the inverter is off, the optimizers will actually tap down the voltage to 0 volts. That is safe working voltage to avoid fires and all that in cases of arc fault. So we have a session where we'll also touch in detail with the optimizer when you are when you are having our residential range. So for monitoring and control, HUAWEI have a free online portal, which is the Fusion Solar. So whenever you have a HUAWEI inverter, you'll be able to monitor it remotely. There is no need for you to buy a license for remote monitoring. So the first app which they have is the Fusion Solar app. This app can actually do your local commissioning and remote monitoring as well. So with this app, you can connect to the inverter through the VLAN using the VLAN adapter or using the built-in VLAN for the lower range. And then you can actually set up your inverter parameters. That is the grid code, the COM address, the server addresses, and all that. And the app actually would actually auto detect all the HUAWEI equipment that are connected on the loop, making it easier for commissioning. And you can actually register your plant, and you can actually use this app for remote monitoring and control. But the control function is limited. Safety settings like the grid code, changing frequencies and all that, those are only limited to local control. And then the web UI, this is the Smart Lock 3000 commissioning page. It's a web-based software. So to access this page, you need to be on site and having a connection between your laptop and the locker through Ethernet. And we'll look into it more on our commissioning session tomorrow. And then we have this Fusion Solar Smart PV Management System. This is the website where you can actually monitor your system, do your control. It also supports what they call smart IV cave diagnosis. We'll touch base on it later as well. And then it can actually there's actually an option to create a demo site such that you can have an experience to see how the system operates and all that. And then the other local commissioning app is the Sun 2000 app, which is for inverter commissioning. You can connect through the inverter through a USB cable, which is faster and less troubling. And then you can use a VLAN or a Bluetooth connection through a dongle, which is supplied with the inverter. So this is basically the overview of the products. So the management system is it's the same for all the inverters from the 12 to 100 KTL, which is the Fusion Solar. The arc fault, the 12 to 20, the current versions on the market already they've built in a arc fault detection. And the 100 KTL M1 already has a built-in. The 50 and 60 KTL inverters, the newer version, which is the M1, will be ready for the market in Q2 to Q3. It will come with built-in arc fault protection. And then for ripple control, for smart locker, you can use a smart locker for bigger ranges, for larger ranges. For the smaller ranges, the inverters, they've already built in ripple control with four digital inputs. And then for connection, there are meters that are compatible with the system. We mainly distribute the Anita, which is one of the range of meters which is compatible. And then there is the HUAWEI smart meter, which is the DTS 666 H250 amp. So when you are using this smart meter, your system is limited to 174 kilowatt, which is equivalent to 250 amps per phase. Because the meter come pre-configured with the cities. So if you are looking for a larger system, or your input in your income breaker is way bigger than 250 amps, then you would need to use the Anita meter for your grid measurements. However, you can connect a HUAWEI system without a meter if you not intend to grid limit. But whenever there is an intention to export limit, it's mandatory to connect a meter at the grid incomer. So this is basically the architecture of the HUAWEI inverter. So it's supposed to be a 36 KTL, not a 50 KTL. So this is how the internal structure of the inverter looks like. So each MPPT, it has two inputs. From left to right, you can see this is a 36 KTL. It has 4 MPPTs, which translates to 8 strings. So 2 strings per MPPT. Internally the system parallel those 2 strings, and then those 2 strings are passed through built-in DC switches. The DC switches are split equally between the number of MPPTs for all range of inverters. So for a 50 and 60, which has 6 MPPTs, so it has 2 DC switches. So DC switch 1 controls the 3 MPPTs, and then the other DC switch controls the other 3 MPPTs. So after the DC switches, the inverter is a built-in SPD, DC SPD, which is a type 2. And then from there, then it goes to the MPPT input through the DC AC inversion circuits. And then on the output side, the inverter is also has a built-in AC SPD, which is also a type 2. And then the wiring setup of the system. So our inverters, you can wire from single to multiple inverters. You can actually have different inverters daisy chain together. So for a single inverter, in this case, this is 100 KTL. You can use a smart dongle 4G, that is to connect to the Fusion Solar app, or to the website, the PV management system through your 4G internet. And then the C&I range, these are grid tied inverters. So from your grid incomer, your meter has to be installed at the mains incomer. That is such that it will be able to measure the load, all the loads that are that are within the premises. And then the meter can be wired straight to the inverter through an RS485 line. For the 100 KTL, if you intend to wire a meter directly to the inverter, you can use a Yanita 104, which is the one with the screen. Or alternatively, you can use the smart sensor meter, but you'll be limited. Your plant will be limited to 170 kilowatt, and then you have your PV modules wired to the inverter. So this is just a the schematic of a single inverter orientation. And then if you are installing a 50 KTL, the only meter which is compatible with the inverter is the smart meter. If you are using a 4G to connect to the management system, the meter that you can use, it's a smart meter. So your plant to be limited to 174 as well. The lower range, you can connect the smart meter direct to them, even the 29 to 36 range. But only the 100 kilowatt is compatible with the Yanita meter to be connected directly to the inverter. If not so, for all other ranges, you definitely need a smart locker, which is basically this setup. So if your meter is not compatible with the inverter, or your plant size, your mains incomer is way bigger than 170 kilowatt, then you would need a smart locker, and then you would wire your meter to the smart locker through RS-485, and then the inverter, you wire it as well to the smart locker through RS-485. Then the smart locker will be the one responsible for connecting to the fusion solar for remote monitoring and control. So you can connect to internet through an Ethernet cable, or you can install a 4G dongle. And then for local commissioning and maintenance, you can use the adapter 2000C for local maintenance, which is a USB port which should be connected directly on the inverter, and then you can access the inverter for your local maintenance. So whenever you are having this set up to connect to the internet, you should make sure that your smart locker IP range is changed to be in the range with your router, such that you to be able to access the gateway for data upload. And then if you're intending to use the repo control, there will be interface through the smart lock. The smart lock will be now the master. It will be the one which now derives set point for the inverter to produce. And then for multiple inverters without smart locker, so you would have your master should support the meter, which is a smart sensor for all inverter ranges, or you can use a Yanita meter if your master inverter is 100 kTL, and then all other inverters are daisy chained together to the master, and then the smart dongle will be installed on the master inverter, and the smart dongle will be one which will be responsible for uploading data to Fusion Solar. So all other inverter data will be picked from the master inverter, and the command and the commands to produce in cases for export limit or remote commands will be channeled to slave devices through the master inverter. So when you are using a smart dongle, your slaves are limited to 9. Right, the smart dongle can only support 10 devices. So master being 1, you can only have 9 slave devices. And then for if your inverters are more than 10, you definitely need to use a smart locker which supports up to 80 devices, so you can connect up to 80 inverters on it. The smart locker comes with built-in comports, 3 comports. So per comport, the number of devices that you can connect in a daisy chain is 30. So for each comport, you can only daisy chain 30 inverters. So it means you can daisy chain up to 8 inverters, and then your power meter will be also wired on the other comport, or actually it can be daisy chained with the inverters to any of the comports. So as I've said, for the locker, then will be the one responsible for remote monitoring and control, and to set parameters on the inverter, they can all be set on the smart locker. The smart locker on setup, it will automatically detect all the HUAWEI devices. So all your inverters, they will automatically be detected and assigned with addresses, and you can actually change the grid codes for all the inverters on the log. We'll look into detail on our commissioning circuit. So this is basically the orientation of the HUAWEI inverters, the wiring. And then if you intend to use optimizers, for the CNI. So basically to be partial optimization, you would need to have a 12 to 20 KTL, regardless whether it's a master or a slave. You can connect your optimizers to the lower range inverter in a daisy chain, and then to work independently with the optimizers and all other inverters. If they don't support optimizers, then they'll just work fine without interrupting the one with optimizers. So with HUAWEI inverters, your plant design is not limited to the same make of inverters. You can have different inverters on the same daisy chain. You can have a 20, a 36, a 50, a 100. This, the master or the smart locker will automatically detect slaves. And in terms of production of set point control, it will actually send a set point proportional to the size of that inverter. So you're not limited to have same inverter size or model on a daisy chain. So it's quite flexible on that. So this is the Pascal overview. Pascal is the same with what we had earlier. And then this is so this is the main features that the inverters have, like the product portfolio summarized. So for each inverter, it is 2 strings per MPPT. Inverters come with arc fault. The 50 and 60, however, it's in the pipeline. The newer version would support the arc fault and the PID recovery. And then there is the smart curve diagnosis. We'll look into it shortly. And then the inverters also support the smart dongle 4G, except for the 29 to 36 range. The newer version also coming in Q2 will be able to support the smart dongle 4G. And then for the VLAN dongle, which is the VLAN fast Ethernet, it's only supported by the lower range CNI, which is the 12 to 20. So for the 29 and above, if your internet source is Ethernet, then there is need to use a smart locker on the system. So as I have said, our inverters, they have a built-in arc protection. So they have a CNI tailored arc protection, which can detect arc faults of up to string lengths of 200 meters. So for CNI, you would have long strings. So the inverter would actually detect any arc fault up to a string length of 200 with high performance, and it can actually detect arc fault of up to 26 amps short circuit current, which is way more than the standard required, which is 16 amps. And the string length, the standard requirement is 80 meters, of which the HUAWEI inverters, they can go up to 200 meters. So it makes it easier for design. You can actually have dispersed PV orientations, and the inverter can still perform the arc protection function without a problem. And then the inverter has a built-in PID recovery system. So what the system does at night, it raises the negative potential. The PID effect is influenced by the potential difference of the negative string to ground. So the higher the potential between negative and ground, negative PV string to ground, the faster the rate of PID. So what the system does, it automatically raises the negative. At night, it actually raises the negative potential to be greater than 0, to such that at night the PID effect doesn't occur. At the same time, helping the affected cells to recover from the from the PID effects that occur during operation during the day. This app is this function is enabled on the Fusion Solar app on upon installation. If however the installer deems not necessary to recover his modules, he can just deactivate the plant. And actually, it doesn't use much power. On average, it uses about 5 watts per night, which is insignificant to your consumption. And then HUAWEI, they have a specialized software for systems that do not support optimizers. So the system is called IVCAP diagnosis. It's basically multi-touch free. So with C&I, the plants will be big, having thousands of modules and all that. Imagine you have to check one by one for cracks, for defects and all that. It will take the whole day. So HUAWEI, they developed a software which is a smart IVCAP diagnosis. With the click of a button online through the Fusion management system, within 2 minutes you can get a report on your PV status. That is the main defects that the system can pick up is the PID effects, which cannot be picked up with the naked eye, and then it can actually identify cracked cells, which is something which cannot be picked up by naked eye. It can also identify hot spots, shattered glass. If your panels have snail trails, which are giving a minor shading on the panels, it can actually pinpoint metal corrosion, EVA delamination and decoloration. So much of these faults, they are not visible to a naked eye, and they can actually be picked within 2 minutes for a plant of up to 2 megawatt, 2 megawatt peak of panels. Within 2 minutes, you can get a diagnosis report for all those faults. Unlike optimizers, it cannot pinpoint the exact module with the correct cells. However, it will pinpoint the string on which there is a defect. Then it narrows down your search. Unlike checking all the panels, if you have a megawatt plant having thousands and thousands of panels, checking them one by one, that will take the whole day. So this system is quite handy. However, you have to acquire a license for it. It's not free, but you need to get a license. So the license is not activated per installer. It's activated per site. So each site has to have its own IVCAP license. So if you have multiple sites, if you intend to use a IVCAP for all the sites, you would need to acquire a license for all of them. And then our major component in the C&I is the Smart Lock 3000, which is basically the communication device. It's the one which interfaces the inverters with the management system, as well as controlling inverters, giving set points for expert control and all that. So the inverter can support up to 80 inverters. However, the smart locker is an expansion module. If you have more than 80 inverters, you can you can install an expansion module, which can take up your devices up to 200. So it basically, the expansion module is basically more inputs to add more devices. The smart locker supports Modbus TCP, RTU, as well as MBus. So RS485, which is the RTU, is the most commonly used to connect to the inverters. The TCP is widely used when you are connecting to third parties. The smart locker can actually interfaces your system for remote commissioning, control, monitoring, and control. You can actually through Fusion Solar, you can actually perform certain settings on the inverters, and the locker will be the one which cascades those settings to the specific inverters. And then for export control, with power meter connected to the locker, the locker can actually perform export control, zero export, or a certain value for PV to be exported to grid. And then the locker also supports power line communication as well. So we'll look more into it on how to set it up and all that on commissioning tomorrow. So this is basically the single line diagram for the smart locker. So you would have your smart locker with all your devices connected to it, from inverters, weather station, your power meter. If you intend to install a PID, which is an anti-PID, for PID control, you also wire it to the locker. If you have for bigger systems, especially the utility scale, if you have a transformer, you can actually wire it to the locker as well. And then you can actually have multiple lockers on a single site. Let's say the site is quite dispersed. You have one plant and the other plant is about 1 kilometer apart. You can have different smart lockers for every site. And then when you are setting up the system on Fusion Solar for remote control, all those lockers can be configured under one system, and you can view a bundled up data for the sites. So for connecting power meters, inverters, EMI, PIDs, we use the locker uses RS485, and then you can use TCP to connect to third-party devices. And then for transformer stations and all that, the locker also supports optical fiber connection. All right, and then for connecting to third-party devices, you can have your FTP server. Okay, you need to configure it on the locker, so the locker can actually push all the data to your private server, FTP server. You can actually set the locker to send you notifications in terms of alarms, in terms of plant report and all that. So all those can be set on the locker, and then you can get maybe daily, monthly report on the plant status and all that. So we are quickly moving to system installation. So on system installation, we'll look at the 50-60 kilowatt. So this is the aesthetics. The inverter has 2 compartments. There is the host panel cover. This is a no-go area as an installer. Only HUAWEI technicians or engineers can open that panel. So whenever you have these inverters, do not open the hoist panel. Opening it will void your warranty. So there is a seal on it. So if you tamper and open the unit, it won't be covered under warranty. So the panel for the compartment for the installer is the one which you call the maintenance compartment. In this case, is the smaller one on the left side. So and the inverter comes. The HUAWEI inverters, they are touch free. That design, they try and remove all the quick way parts That is buttons, screens, fuses, because all those things usually after 3-5 years they need to be replaced, and that affects inverter availability and efficiency. So our inverters, they are touch free. There is no button, there is nothing. The only thing that is there is a DC switch at the bottom of the inverter. For all your settings and checking inverter status, everything is done through the Fusion Solar app. So all our inverters have 3 LEDs on the screen. The first one symbolizes DC. If your inverter is connected to DC power, it will illuminate DC symbolized with a straight line. So it's just an LED indication with a straight line. And then the second LED is for AC synchronization. When the inverter is successfully synchronized with your grid, that is, if your grid is within the NRS parameters for South Africa and Southern African region, when the inverter synchronizes and accepts the grid, then it will illuminate the LED. It has a sinusoidal indication. And then the other icon is for communication and alarm. So the communication communication, DC, AC, they are all green. If the LED indication is gray, like off, it means there is no whatever it's depicting is not available at that moment. If you lose your DC or your AC, to simply switch off. And then there is a red icon, which is the fourth icon, which is the alarm. So whenever it's red, when it illuminates red, then it means the inverter is at fault. If it flashes yellow or orange, then it means there is a warning on the warning on the inverter. So this is how it looks like. And then underneath the inverter, you have your MPPTs, which is 6 of them, and this is the 56 KTL. And then you have two strings per MPPT. So you have actually 12 strings. So you have 2 DC switches, which are red on the diagram. So DC switch 1 controls the first 3 MPPTs, and then DC switch 2 controls the other set of MPPTs. And then you underneath there are glands where you need to put through your cables. The bigger one being the AC cable output, and then the smaller ones being for comms cables, mainly being the RS485 line. And then the inverter is a USB port with a cap. So after doing a local commissioning, if you are not using the port, preferably just close it. The inverter is an IP65, so it can be installed outdoor. So to make sure that all your IP features are maintained, you just need to secure the USB port by a lead, which is supplied with the inverter. So this is how the maintenance compartment looks like. So if you open it inside, you get a block connector for your AC cable connection, which is the inverter supports 3-wire and 4-wire connection. So this is a 3-wire connection without neutral. Whenever you set a 3-wire connection, you need to when you're doing the commission, you need to specify the type of wire which you have set. The inverter comes with default settings for 4-wire connection, which is 3 lives and a neutral. And then there is a earth bonding nut next to the block connector, where you need to run your earthing. So if your inverter is installed on a metal frame, there is need for you to externally bond the inverter to your frame. So on the left side of the inverter, there is an earthing point as well, which is basically at same potential with the internal port. So you just need to connect an eighth wire there and bond it to your mounting if the mounting is it's a conductive material. And then the DC connections, the inverter has a built-in MC4 connectors underneath for all the string channels. So the inverter has built-in SPD and DC switches. So some installers would prefer not to have external protection for their strings. So you can actually wire your strings straight from the field to the inverter. You just need an MC4 connectors as well, just to plug in on the inverter. Preferably, you can install a fuse box between your strings and the inverter to be able to isolate your strings. So for protection, the inverter is already built in protection. However, it's always important, it's always noble to have a double protection. So you can install a fuse box on the external such that you protect your inverter as well, because when the inverter is a fault, then it means you'll be out of production while we are busy with the warrant issue. But if you install a fuse box, if the fuse blows, then you can quickly replace the fuse and get the inverter running as well. So for the communication part, the inverter uses RS485 communication. So it has two RS485 ports, RS485-1 and RS485-2. These two ports are next to the AC terminal block. So for inverter communication, when you're daisy chaining the inverters, you daisy chain them on RS485-1. RS485-2 is used to connect slave devices other than inverters. That is, if you have a meter or a weather station that you intend to connect to the inverter, then that's when you use RS485-2. But for standard installation, all inverters are daisy chained on RS485-1. So you have RS485A in, A out, B in, and B out. So when you are daisy chaining so those are the pin layouts for the 50 and 60 KTL. And then there is next to the RS485 connector, there is an eighth point for the comms channel. Then you just need to wire your RS485 sheath on the eighth terminal. So this is basically how the plug looks like. So you can actually remove the plug, terminate your cables, and then plug it back to the inverter. So if you are to daisy chain your inverters, as I've said, the smart locker can take up to 80 inverters. So if you are daisy chaining your inverters with a smart locker, your daisy chain per COM port is limited to 30 devices on each RS485 route. So when you are daisy chaining your inverters, the furthest inverter to the smart locker will represent that as N. So it's connected on out. So basically that inverter communication is going out of it, going to in of the next inverter, which is RS485 in, and then out of that inverter to the next inverter on in, up until your closest inverter to the locker. So all the daisy chain will come to in of that inverter, which is basically the daisy chain in to the inverter, and then you go out of the inverter next to the locker to your COM port on the locker. So all HUAWEI devices, they use a standard communication. So your RS485A equals to A, B equals to B. They do not support inverted communication. So from the locker to up to all the inverters, your A equals to A, whether on in or out, and then B equals to B. And then if you have a meter, then you wire your meter A and B to the other COM port. So if you are using if you are using one of the inverters as master, so it means all your inverters will be daisy chained on RS485A1, all the inverters up until the master inverter, which is the first inverter, and then your meter, you now wire it on RS4852. That's where you wire your meter on RS452, and then we'll look into tomorrow on how to configure the meter on the inverter. And then, so this is basically a complete installation. This is our 5060 KTL complete installation looks like, with all the cables crimpled. So whenever you tighten your cables, make sure they are tight and they are secured to avoid arcs and surges and all that. And then for the DC part, make sure you use quality MC4 connectors. We have got a number of scenarios where one would just get a cheap RS485 and which cannot withstand maybe 8,000 volts, 11 amps, and then you get the MC4 connectors melting. So please make sure you use quality MC4 connectors which can support 1,000 volts DC. And then for our meter connection for the CNI, mostly we distribute a Anita meter, which is mainly the 104, the one with the screen, or the 103, the one without the screen. So whenever you're supplied with a meter, it's supplied with a 120 ohm resistor, which is basically an end of termination resistor. So you need to connect your line voltages, that is for reference, L1, L2, L3, and neutral. And then you need to connect your CTs to the meter. The meter by default supports CTs with secondary winding 5. However, they can also support CTs with second winding of 1M, but preferably 5M secondary winding rating. And one thing to note when connecting power meters, make sure that your voltage and current, they are in line. If there is first difference between the current and the voltage, the power ratings that will be calculated by the input algorithm will be wrong. So make sure that if your CT is hooked up on L1, that CT is wired on I1, and the line voltage from that phase is wired on L1. If you have a mismatch, then you'd have wrong values. Mainly, this is depicted by a low power factor or a negative power factor or a high reactive power. So make sure that your current and voltage, they are in phase whenever you wire power meters. So the power meter, you need to supply with a 220 volts live neutral power supply, which is point 15 and 14 on the diagram for a 104. And then there is an RS485 port, which would be labeled A and B, which is 22 and 23. That's where you wire your comms cable that you would go to your logger or to your master inverter. For a Anita, your master inverter has to be a 100 KTL inverter. And then you would need to, between the A and the B, you need to install a 120 ohm resistor supplied with the meter as an end of termination. So this is basically the MG104. So you need to set your CT ratios, your primary, secondary. You need to set the Modbus address such that there will be the system will be able to communicate with the logger. You need to set your baud rate. The default baud rate for all HUAWEI devices is 9,600. So you would need to set your baud rate to 9,600. And then the mode of communication, whether you are using TCP or RTU. So mainly it's RTU, which is RS-485. You need to set it as RS-485. And then so this is an extract of the appendix where you would set your addresses. So to access the programming mode, you just hold the two buttons, which is 1 and 2 on the screen, just for 2-3 seconds. It will go into PRG mode with address on left and content on the right. So you need to input your address and then the content. For instance, for city primary ratio, for address 000, your city ratio, then you need to set your current primary winding rating. All these devices are supplied with a manual, and all these are covered on the manual as well. And all these addresses are detailed on the manual. But however, we are always there to give technical support for your commissioning. If you are missing anything, you can just give us a call, then we'll assist remotely. If it's a new install, if you're first HUAWEI install, we can arrange, then we can come to site and assist you with setting up and everything. And then for the HUAWEI smart meter, which is the DTSU 666H, as I've said, it's limited to 250 amp income breaker size or 170 kilowatt plant size. You need to hook up cities. You can see the SLD on the left. You need to hook up cities. Pay attention to the direction of the flow of current. Wire your cities, and then you would wire it. It comes with a built-in RS-485 port as well. For the DTSU, it's not mandatory to have a resistor. Then you just wire the RS-485 A and B either to your inverter or to the locker. So this is basically the schematic of it, and then these are different point settings to connect your meter. So for the 100, for all the inverters, the meter is connected on RS-485 2, whether it's a 100 KTL, a 50-60, a 12 to 20, or a 36 KTL range. And then this is the basic appearance of the locker. So the front and the back and underneath. So the main features that are used on the locker will look in much in detail tomorrow on our commissioning webinar, where we'll look more into the locker. The locker comes with 3 COM ports, which are denoted by 16 on the diagram. And then the locker is powered on with a 24 volts supply. So it comes with a power supply, like a laptop charger supply, or alternatively you can wire a positive negative 24 volts to power on the inverter. And then on the top image on two denotes, that's where you'd connect your 4G card. Yeah, you just need, there is a slot to plug in your 4G card there. And then on 1, those are LED indications for run, alarm, and 4G for active communications. And then point 6 and 11, they denote the Ethernet. So these points are the main components that we use for a standard installation. We use the COM ports, which is, we have got the VLAN and we've got the WAN and the LAN ports. We'll look into detail on how they work tomorrow. And then we use the COM ports for connecting our slave devices, that is the power meter and the inverters. And then basically that's all. All these other settings, then they'll be for specialized sites like the repo control, the digital inputs, and all that. We'll look much more in detail tomorrow when when we are doing our commissioning and troubleshooting session. So basically that's all for the C&I product overview and installation. So all our products, they come with installation manuals. Everything is detailed there. Would share commissioning videos for all the products. In case it's your new installation and you want to get on speed, we'll share a link to a commissioning video on our YouTube channel. Then you can just play a video and get to see how the system is installed and everything. But the system is quite simple to install and straightforward. If you have any challenges, then you can just contact Katia Technical Support. Will be there to assist remotely. Or if there is need to, then we'll come to site. So let me quickly go to the chat box. You can send your questions on the chat box if you have any questions, or you can just air them out and then I can quickly respond to them. Yes, will we receive presentations afterwards? Yes, this presentation will be shared on our YouTube channel, so you can go to our YouTube channel to view it. We will also share the slides, the PowerPoint slide. You just send a request email to our Kathia Gmail, then we'll share the slide with you. And then are there any questions? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Okay. Are there any questions? What if I have two inverters that are like 200 meters apart? How do I get them to communicate? The RIS-485 line can go up to 900 meters, preferably, but you can the RIS-485 daisy chain can go up to 1,200 meters. So you can hook up your inverters through an RIS-485 line. Unfortunately, HUAWEI do not support remote devices because remote devices timely they will disconnect and affect control. So they prefer hard wiring. So you can wire your inverters through an RIS-485, and the daisy chain can go up to 1,200 meters without a problem. Just make sure your RIS-485 line doesn't pass through high power cables. That is for noise and all that. And if you have such long distances, preferably use shielded cable to keep noise and all that. Any more questions? If we don't have, okay, I should say. Okay. If we don't have any more questions, we can call it a day. Tomorrow at 10:30 same time, we'll be having our C&I commissioning and troubleshooting session. So basically, we'll look at smart locker commissioning as well as smart dongle commissioning and registering the the site for remote monitoring on Fusion Solar. Please attend, because usually the installation and all that is not much of a problem, but the communication in most cases, which is the commissioning part, it's a hassle. So I'm sure tomorrow's session will be much more helpful on the technical side. So let's meet tomorrow, same time. Have a lovely day.